Hey everyone, and welcome to Cozying Up the Clear Cut. This is the last episode of season 7, and it is an extra special episode because I have my co-founder slash COO slash partner in life with me here today, Kyle, and we're going to be talking all things diamonds. Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me.
This is your second time on the pod, right?
This is the second time on air with you on Cozying Up.
That's very exciting. And we just celebrated our 5-year anniversary of the Clear Cut. So we turned 5 years old, which is super exciting because a lot of people say startups don't make it to their 5 years. So we passed that milestone.
Yes.
So
yeah, I think it's
deal.
like 4 years is like the critical inflection point typically.
And we're still here and thriving. So that's awesome. And we just got back from a really exciting trip to Botswana. So we thought we'd share a little bit about our experience there.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm into it.
So how would you describe the last 5 years working with me and building the Clear Cut?
Well, I think independent of the Clear Cut, like the past 5 years have been some of the craziest years of like everybody's life, right?
True.
With like COVID. Mm-hmm. So to start a business in a pre-COVID environment, quickly becoming a COVID environment, and now coming out of COVID has been such a dramatic experience that it's been hard to like kind of.
Yeah, every year is unlike the last, which keeps us on our toes. But I think it was really cool. So last year we went to Botswana for the first time, and that was with Forbes 30 Under 30, the conference, and we were able to.
And even the fact that we went there that year, like if you think about it, we were Forbes 30 Under 30 in 2020 and weren't unable to go on a trip because of COVID.
Right, we're old AF now.
And we actually did the trip once we turned 30, post 30.
Post 30.
Right? So that kind of speaks to the chaos of those few years, right?
Yeah, and we really wanted to go there specifically. We were excited for that trip because it was a diamond producing country. It's a country that does some of the best jobs at their ethical mining, and we wanted to go to the source because I think a lot of people have a ton of misconceptions around natural diamonds and have never been to a diamond producing country or a mine. So last year we had the opportunity to go to the diamond trading floor at De Beers, but we didn't go to a mine, which was still really awesome to see how all the rough diamonds are like sorted and how the whole system works and how they're polished and cut, and people are being trained to do that locally. But this year, we had the opportunity to go to the largest diamond mine in Botswana.
I think in the world.
No, yeah, in the world.
I think it's the largest, in the world. Yeah.
The Orapa mine, and it was, I thought, one of the coolest things that I've ever done. I mean, Kyle, you have a background in mining, but very different scale. A lot of people on TikTok accuse me of only supporting natural diamonds because you currently own a mine and you're funding me, but that's not true. But
I own no mines.
Yes, currently own no mines. But do you want to kind of like talk about the difference between your experience in Sierra Leone and, seeing the Orapa mine in Botswana?
Yeah, I mean, I lived in Sierra Leone for 3 years, right? And they're 3 like very informative years of my life. And my kind of mission there, once I started my first business there, was to create a fair trade diamond mining business, and kind of benefiting the local community. And ultimately, it didn't work out due to the Ebola epidemic, and the business was a failure.
No mining was done.
So in a way, it's like kind of cathartic to then go, like, fast forward almost 10 years, go to Botswana and see a country that is doing things correctly and is thriving and is like in a well-educated, well-developed, and like well-funded society and like functioning country, all due to diamonds. It was like a really powerful and like eye-opening experience.
So a couple of facts about Botswana. First of all, it's one of the, coolest countries because 2/3 of the country is dedicated to wildlife, and it's like preserved for just like animals in their natural habitat. So like no matter where you are at any point, you can just casually see like an elephant or a warthog, and it's just amazing to see these beautiful creatures being able to like just live their life. It's also a country that directly benefits and really utilizes their natural resources, which are natural diamonds. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Botswana and De Beers, which is one of the largest diamond mining companies in the world, they have a 50-50 joint mining partnership called Debswana in Botswana. So that means all of the mining rights are split 50-50 between De Beers and the government of Botswana. And the government of Botswana actually owns 15% of all of De Beers. So that means wherever else they mine, Canada, Namibia, South Africa, Botswana directly benefits from it. And that money goes to giving every single person in the country a free education through their master's degree, which is insane because in the US, everyone has to take out so much debt, and that's not an issue there. They have free healthcare, people have free housing, and it's just like something that is really cool to see.
Yeah, and I think, because it's maybe more clickbait and it's more like, dramatic, there's like a lot of rhetoric around diamonds about how horrible they are for local communities and how terrible they are. But the reality is, if you look at Botswana, it's a country that was extremely poor at its independence because diamonds had not been discovered yet. I think that's one of the reasons why diamonds have proven to be so lucrative for them is they discovered them post-independence when they were in control of their destiny. Mm-hmm. But it was a poor country that relied primarily on some cattle farming for Europe, and that was about it. It's one of the least densely populated countries in the world, and there really wasn't much there. But when diamonds were discovered, and over the past 50 plus years, the country has made a lot of intelligent and really savvy moves to capitalize on their natural resources. Like the president, what he always says is, without Botswana, there are no diamonds, and without diamonds, there's no Botswana. And I think like that's just so cool to see. And I think
especially with the rhetoric that we hear here.
Yeah, and it's like a lot. What's ironic is so many people will go to these countries and go on safari and like kind of
enjoy all the things that natural diamonds give to these countries, but not really.
But not connect the dots. So it's really, really powerful to see like. They when they even negotiated their last contract to De Beers, they forced De Beers to move their headquarters for all diamond sales in the world from London to Gaborone, Botswana. They forced them to have a 50-50 joint partnership on the mining. So they've demanded that they be treated as equals, and the people of the country have really benefited. And I think they've recognized that this is a country where diamonds may run out one day because, again, contrary to some of the rhetoric out there, diamonds are a scarce and finite resource. They were all created billions of years ago. They're older than the stars in the sky. There are no new diamonds being formed. So when they inevitably run out of diamonds, they need to make sure that they've made the correct investments in their society that they can, last beyond that. And so they've looked at Dubai as an example of a country that's taken a natural resource and transformed the region, and they want to be the Dubai of Africa.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting to hear when we went to Orapa, they said they had about like 30 more years left of that mine. So they're already thinking forward when, diamonds eventually do run out, or natural diamonds, which is why, they are scarce and valuable.
And I know, like from someone who did work in Sierra Leone and like saw, the mining sector, that in Botswana, 99.7% of the employees at Debswana are Botswanian. Like they're not importing like workers from other countries, which you see a lot in like infrastructure projects in Africa or other kinds of projects in Africa. Like this is like local, pretty high skilled labor, like, capitalizing on the resources of their own country. And that's really encouraging to see.
Yeah. What I also thought was just the coolest thing was, since we've been there twice now and we went with Forbes the first time, we like made some local friends from the first time we were there that we got to see again. And just hearing, their perspective on diamonds, we're like, so what do you guys think about diamonds? Like, tell us the truth, because, we're fed a lot of rhetoric, and you'll see on TikTok or the media, it likes to sensationalize things and say, oh, blood diamonds are children like mining here and like people are dying. I literally asked like local Botswanans, and they were like, that is so weird. There are no like children working on mines. Like you need to like have a master's degree to like work on the mines, or like everyone wants to work at Botswana. You get so many benefits. So it is just like a really strange contrast. And I think, this is kind of a hot take, but by like perpetuating that blood diamond and like that African stereotype, you're actually like perpetuating kind of like colonialist tropes that hold down these people that are like proud of their country and proud of their resources and are like,
yeah, I mean, the reality is like when you're saying things like that, it is, yeah, you're, I don't want to be the point canceling people and calling people racist.
No,
but
we're
it's
not
like,
canceling.
But it's like you basically are creating a false picture of like a colonial, like these people are just subjects to the land and whatever, when the reality is they have ownership of their land. They are full control of their resources and they're benefiting from them.
Yes.
But that's a little more nuanced, and that's not as sexy of like a documentary to make.
Well, the media like loves clickbait stuff, and it's just like an easy thing to like sensationalize that. So I think that's where we fall in.
But I do agree with you. Like for me, the really cool part now going 2 consecutive years to Botswana and having gone initially through Forbes is to be amongst your peers, like at the time people under 30, and like form relationships with them outside of the propaganda potentially of corporations or government officials or whoever. Like you're talking to just citizens and business leaders in Botswana, and to hear their take on it is like refreshing, because it's also rewarding to be part of something that it is doing good for people.
And I think the story just needs to be told more. More people need to, we need to bridge that gap and talk to more people that are from diamond producing countries, or like open up this narrative, or like show what's good, because I think for so long everything in the industry in general, and that's why the diamond industry has like a reputation of being like opaque or like, kind of sketchy, because just like when we started and we wanted to be, transparent with pricing or specs or things like that, which are like basic things that everyone wants now, we need to be transparent about origin and, mining practices, where are diamonds going back to. And I think that is the future of the natural diamond industry, and it's such a necessity. Now that things are being, traced on Tracer.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like we started this conversation, like looking back 5 years ago.
Right. Mm-hmm.
If you look forward 5-10 years, like where is the diamond industry heading? And it's pretty clear. The word is transparency. Like, Web3 and like blockchain technology is actually being more leveraged in this space than many others, despite how antiquated it is, because customers are demanding transparency. Customers want to know where these products were from, how they were sourced, and whether they were ethical or not.
And I think this should go for lab grown diamonds as well. Like, I think you need to know, if you are buying it for whatever reason, whether it's your engagement ring or another piece of jewelry, like, where is it being created, under what conditions, and are we being like greenwashed? Is this like sustainable? Is it being made in the US, or is it being made in India or China? And what are like the conditions of the people that are, producing them?
Yeah, because the reality is, like, 2/3 of all the lab grown diamonds in the world are being produced in India and China, using primarily coal as the power source. The cheapest way to do lab grown at the moment is CVD, which is using chemical vapor deposition.
Chemical vapor deposition.
Thank you. Using methane gas as the vapor. So these aren't necessarily green technologies, but they've been marketed that way. And I think one of the things that how I look at it is, I feel like millennials grew up with this movie with Leonardo DiCaprio called Blood Diamond, and so they were informed by that. And I think Gen Z has grown up like very skeptical of greenwashing, and like they actually care about the planet but don't just need the rhetoric. Like, I feel like millennials, you just told them you're doing something green and that was enough. I think Gen Z are like smart enough to like do the research and do their homework. And so I think these lab grown diamonds who have like initially come out with this like environmental tilt are gonna quickly realize that like people are smart enough to figure that out. And that doesn't mean that like at the end of the day people don't want a cheaper alternative, because it is, $100 a carat, $150 a carat.
$75 for the cert. So
so it's like under $100 to create these things like that. There is some value in that, and that's a real, if you're in the moissanite business, like that may be troubling. But I think, again, diamonds are older than the stars in the sky. Like there's inherent rarity in that.
I think they're different products. They can be complementary products like our lab grown travel ring, but they're just not apples to apples. And I think the media or there just needs to be more accurate information. There's tons of misinformation out there, and it is hard for a consumer to understand.
I think one of the most surprising elements of our journey on natural versus lab is we made that decision. We were running a business, right? So we made that decision financially as well, that we thought long term we wanted to invest in the value of our brand and stand by our ethics, because we thought we'd be rewarded financially by our customers and we're not a charity, but at the same time, in the short term, we left so much money on the table by not charging $15,000 for a 2-carat lab grown that I can buy for $300 like some other people did, and thought we were doing the ethical, in our eyes, the ethical, transparent, honest thing. And the amount of anger and I don't know, trolling, for lack of a better word, you've received online is something I didn't see coming. I saw that we might be shocking and surprise people, but I didn't think people would, most of your brand, the company's brand, but your personal brand, because your face on the when you're talking to the camera has been cheerful and educational, and we always said we wanted to be this generation's jeweler for life. We wanted to be approachable, break down the barriers, not be intimidating, not be, elitist. And then all of a sudden, you were being called elitist and, mean and all these things.
Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for reminding me.
No, but it's you get reminded every day in the comments on those posts. It's worth acknowledging that.
Right.
And I think it's because what's weird is, in a lot of products, as the price falls, the demand rises, right? Because the less expensive it is, the more I want it, supply and demand, right? Lab grown, they can't fall below a certain price point without the demand crashing. So people get very, and again, the nature of an engagement is it's so symbolic. No one wants to buy something or have something that represents their commitment to someone be worthless, right? So it's a highly sensitive moment for them, but all you're doing is kind of telling them that they've been taken advantage of. But I think there's a group of people who would actually prefer, and we see it, right, who are okay overpaying for something because they don't want it to be that cheap. They'd rather for something that's symbolic, pay for it.
Right. I think a lot of the hate is just misplaced anger. I would feel kind of crappy if I was taken advantage of, and I wouldn't like to acknowledge that. So someone coming at my face and telling me that what I spent tens of thousands of dollars on is worthless, I would feel some sort of way too. So I understand.
But the intention is just transparency.
Right. Always.
And that's why you posted the invoice and whatever. And you can have debates about the environmental impacts, debates, but not about value. If you're just going to talk about what something's worth, something's worth what people who are selling us lab grown for $150 a carat are making money off us. That's why they're selling it to us,
Yes.
So it's just a shame that people are overpaying. And I think over the long term, your margin is my opportunity. If someone's willing to sell something for 15, someone will sell it for 14.
Well, what's interesting? A lot of people don't know that there have been lab-grown synthetic gemstones before diamonds. And I think what's interesting and why we chose to stay natural was because as a graduate gemologist, and whenever I speak to other graduate gemologists, we learn mainly about the difference on how to detect synthetic and natural gemstones, and we know how that played out. So basically, in the 1920s, technology was already developed to make synthetic emeralds, rubies, sapphires, and many different methods. And at the time, they thought, oh my God, this is going to disrupt. No one's going to buy or mine natural gemstones anymore. And over time, it turned into two totally different products where the synthetic gemstones were, very inexpensive, held no value, and there's still a huge demand for natural sapphires, rubies, and emeralds. Now, when you go on QVC and you see pieces that are sterling silver, gold plated, and they have synthetic gemstones in it, great, there's a market for that. But if you are going to Graf or, a luxury jewelry house or Sotheby's or Christie's, they're not going to be auctioning those things off. So those are two totally different products. So we were like, well, we are an attainable luxury company, but we are a luxury company. If we want to be, your jeweler for life, we need to be standing by all of our products, which is what we went into the business with the intention of. So that's why we're like, oh, well, obviously not do lab grown. We don't do salt and pepper diamonds. We don't do moissanite. We don't sell CZ. So why would we do lab grown? It's a different product.
I mean, and even, if you want to get into it, even again, to get into the technicalities of it, even amongst natural diamonds, we don't sell color enhanced diamonds. We don't sell laser drilled diamonds. Every lab grown diamond is a color enhanced diamond. So even on the natural side, the treatments that they're doing to that, we won't even do on a natural.
Right.
I know it's a little nuanced, but it's important.
So I think that's where we just came with this background and knowledge in that part of the industry, which is what informed this decision. And I think a lot of people don't even know that synthetic gemstones exist or what happened to them over the past 100 or so years. So that's kind of us looking forward.
Yeah, and I think the big picture, again, it doesn't need to be natural or slab. They are two completely different products, and one is trading for tens of thousands of dollars a carat, whatever. One's trading for hundreds of dollars or $100 a carat, and that's okay. And I think we're going to continue to use them as travel rings. I think if that's your starter ring and you want to start off with a lab grown, just don't overpay for it. And an engagement ring that's natural may be more aspirational at a certain point in your life, and that's okay.
One way that we will use lab grown diamonds now and moving forward is for our travel ring program. So if you purchased a natural diamond engagement ring from the Clear Cut, you are eligible to get a free lab grown diamond for a travel ring. So if you spent between $10,000 to $15,000 on your ring, you can get a free 1 carat lab grown, between $15,000 to $20,000, a 1.5 carat lab grown, and $20,000 and above, a free 2 carat lab grown diamond for a travel ring. So this really started because in the past, our clients, a lot of times when they're traveling, they didn't want to risk losing their ring or, damaging it when they were doing an activity or traveling somewhere. So we would make a replica ring with a cubic zirconia. But cubic zirconia doesn't really look that much like a diamond. And now that lab grown diamonds are so inexpensive, we're able to offer the travel ring with a lab grown, which looks way better than a CZ, but you don't have to worry about losing it or damaging it if you are going abroad or doing any sort of activity that you might not feel comfortable wearing your natural ring or, the ring that you got engaged with because there's, sentimental purposes.
Yeah, and I think full circle, you can agree with us or disagree with us on natural versus lab. That's your opinion, but Botswana.
Yes. Botswana
is non-debatable. It's a beautiful country. I would highly encourage everyone to visit. Support that country.
Go to the Okavango Delta. It was the most beautiful place I've ever been.
Everyone speaks English. It is way safer than Manhattan.
New York, yes. Oh my God.
It is clean.
Everyone's so nice.
I think they have the largest elephant.
We should get sponsored by Botswana Tourism.
Yeah, well, I just would like to go back to Botswana, so if they want to sponsor us. So I think we started this with you asking me how the last 5 years have been. Mm-hmm. So we can end it with how do you think you want the next 5 years to be?
Oh my God. I mean, obviously, I want all the good stuff. I want to keep growing. I want to keep building our amazing community. I want to keep developing amazing tech so we are this generation's jeweler for life. And I hope to, with all the craziness in the world, who knows what's happening next, be able to, turn chaos into success.
Well, I think what's nice is we're in a space where we're in a space where we're with people at some of the happiest moments of their entire life, and that lasts far longer than the pieces we make are going to outlive us, And so I think that's something that's really beautiful and we're really fortunate, and it's a big responsibility.
We're lucky we're in this part of the business
because
Because
diamond is forever.
oh my God, no. No, Kyle. But yes, kind of.
But kind of.
But kind of. I mean, my ring is super old. I don't even know who owned my ring before my mom owned the ring.
But in the future, you would, because it's going to be on the blockchain, even with our NFT.
Yes.
Right.
So
the future is brilliant. How many more cheesy lines do you want me to end this with?
yeah, I know. We can do this forever.
Yeah. Okay.
All
Class
right.
is dismissed.
Oh my God, stop it. All right. Well, thank you so much for listening to us blab about things that we're really passionate about. And I hope you found it interesting. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Class is dismissed. You just listened to the end of season 7 of Cozying Up with a Clear Cut. We have so much exciting things in store for next season, so definitely stay tuned.